Friends, today is Sunday, the 22nd of November, and the last Sunday of the church's liturgical year, the 34th Sunday, which is also known as the Solemnity of Christ the King. And this king is no ordinary king. This king is a king who gets off his throne and washes our feet. Gets off his throne and washes our feet. And we are to do the same. We are to do the same for each other. And when the end comes, this king will ask us only one question. He'll ask us only one question. What did you do for one of the least brothers and sisters of mine? One question. What did you do for one of the least brothers and sisters of mine? And the answer to that question will make all the difference. The gospel today is taken from the Gospel of St. Matthew, the 25th chapter, and it's a separation of the sheep and the goats. That great scene of judgment, the separation of the sheep and the goats. Matthew paints a very, very vivid picture of the end of the world. Picture, I would say, as vivid as Michelangelo's great work in the Sistine Chapel of the Last Judgment. In both cases, there's really no missing the point. The coming of the Son of Man in judgment will mean heaven for some and hell for others, sheep and goats. Three things kind of surprise me about this reading. And the first is the criteria by which we are judged. There's no mention of faith, for example. There's no mention of the commandments. And the second kind of surprising feature of this gospel is the judgment concerns all peoples, all the nations, Christians and non-Christians alike. And the third feature that kind of surprises me about this reading and about judgment is that people are sent to hell for sins of omission, not commission. Sins of omission, not commission. We don't want to think of this gospel necessarily as an exact blueprint, say, of the end, but it does paint a pretty clear picture, and that picture is one of separation. There will be a separation. The great king will look out over the crowd, and with a sweeping gesture to the right, he will say, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you. You who are blessed, you who are happy, inherit the kingdom prepared for you." And who are these blessed or the happy ones? Because they perform the corporal works of mercy. The ones, and I guess the question is, why are they blessed and happy? Well, because they performed these corporal works of mercy, feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, welcoming the stranger, clothing the naked, caring for the sick, and visiting the imprisoned. The corporal works of mercy. And the sheep on the right are a little perplexed by all of this. Yes, they performed these good deeds, but where was the king? Where was the king? And the answer to that question is the whole point of the story, the whole point. Whenever you serve the least ones, you serve Jesus, the great King. Jesus specifically identifies himself with the poor. Specifically identifies himself with the poor. And the Catechism of the Catholic Church reaffirms that and says this: Jesus identifies himself with the poor of every kind and makes active love toward them the condition for entering his kingdom. Active love toward them, the condition. The goats, the other side of things here, the goats are a little perplexed, and they're another story. One can only imagine their silence, their shock, their confusion, their fear. And in their defense, they feebly say they never saw Jesus. They never saw him. And since they never saw Jesus, they say, well, then how could we have served him? We didn't see him. I might paraphrase their pathetic cry in this way: Lord, if we had known it was you, we certainly would have served you. If we had known it was you, we certainly would have served you. In other words, we would have helped someone who is rich or famous or powerful or divine. And of course, unsaid, with the hope we would be rewarded. But it's too late. It's too late for the poor goats. Depart from me, Jesus says, the King says, you accursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Depart from me. Words we really don't want to hear. I remember, speaking of words, the startling words of one of our former archbishops, Cardinal George. He said in a very startling way, serve the poor or go to hell. That kind of sums up the whole story in the gospel. Serve the poor or go to hell. All of us, Christians and non-Christians alike, are offered the possibility of salvation. And I guess it's interesting, too, that there's nothing complicated about it. There's nothing complicated about it. We are asked to do simple and ordinary things. Simple and ordinary things for our brothers and sisters. And if we do, well, that we will hear the words we long to hear. Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you. Hold on to those words, and we'll see you on Monday.